welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. I'm Jordan.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Matt.
All right, so our question of the day with this one, baseball season's just around the corner. The weather's starting to clear up. So here's my question for you guys on this. Top of your head, who has the best hat in Major League Baseball?
Ooh, that was a great question. I like the A's elephant hat. I mean, I'm biased because I'm an A's fan, but the A's elephant hat's pretty cool. I've always liked that logo. I've always thought that's pretty cool. I do like, they had a 50th anniversary hat that they came out with, I want to say a few years ago, that was like Kelly green, and that was a really nice hat too. I just happen to like the color and the design of that. I'm an A's fan. I'm biased, so
I like it, and I do think the A's are up there as an A's fan as well. Matt, how about you?
Well, I mean, gosh, for tradition, you can't get more tradition than the Yankees, can you? I mean, we had
That's
one.
fair. I
don't
hate
know.
the team, but the hat's great. But I gotta say, I think my favorite one in baseball, I think it's down to between two of them, and might be hot takes. Neither are my favorite team, but I gotta say the Detroit Tigers. You can't go wrong with the Old English D. Or I love the White Sox hats.
Yeah, you know what? I got to see them all. I can't go off the top of my head. Oh, yeah, that's tough for me.
Hey, you know what? It's still a good answer. Yankees are a good safe one. You know, there's probably some people in our comment section and YouTube that are like, "Is Matt a secret Yankee fan?" But hey, a good uniform's a good uniform.
I don't mind the Yanks.
All right, but back to our high school stuff. We had a very busy week. I think everyone was hitting, I think, at least 3 games in the last week, maybe even 4. Aaron, let's start with you because I know you were at the same place both Monday and Tuesday. Where were you in the first part of your week, and what'd you see?
Yep. So Tuesday, I was originally going to go cover a soccer game at Wood Creek. Ended up getting postponed because of the weather. Fortunately, it turned out it wasn't too bad out there. So Monday and Tuesday, I actually ended up going to Oakmont as the Vikings were taking on the West Park Panthers. Monday, it was the girls, and then Tuesday, it was the boys. The girls' game featured a lot of goals. It was 3-3 at halftime as Erica Griglione, Madison Ham, and Bella Madigan all scored for the Panthers, while Isabella Berrigan-Wright, Kendall Schrader, and Devin Chambers scored for the Vikings. Madigan and Ham both scored their second goals in the second half, while Chambers added one late for Oakmont in the 77th minute. West Park won the game 5-4. Really exciting game. There was multiple times in the game where it was super foggy on the field, but like you would look out the parking lot, it'd be totally fine. It was just a mixture of the lights, the moisture coming off the field. And I'm not a meteorologist or a weather person, so I don't know exactly how all that works, but it made for interesting taking photos out there for sure. The Panthers look good. I said that I think they'd be a contender in the league. I still think they can. They need to get a little bit better defensively and prevent counterattacks, but they played a solid game. I talked to the Vikings coach Stephanie Paulson after the game. She was happy that they kept up with one of the better teams in the league, especially since Oakmont graduated about 10 girls last year and West Park didn't graduate anyone. So that's how that one went. And then on Tuesday in the boys game, despite Oakmont controlling a fair amount of the possession, especially in the first 20 minutes or so, in the first half in general, the Panthers were more clinical with their opportunities. They had 6 shots and 5 on goal, while Oakmont had 6 shots and 2 on goal. Panthers won 2-0. Both goals essentially came from set pieces. Jack Connolly scored from a corner kick in the 35th minute, while Brandon Lee scored in the 39th off of a free kick. Adrian and Alejandro Alvaronga had the shots on target for Oakmont. I know Adrian for Oakmont, I believe, is leading in scoring in the league right now, or at least for his team, I think, with 13 goals. So that was an interesting game. West Park came away with that one. And then on Wednesday, I was back out at the pitch again, and this happened to be the most rainy game of them all. I was at Del Oro for an SFL matchup against Rockland. There was not a lot of rain in the first half, but it really started to come down in the second half, which made for some interesting throw-ins where the ball would slip off a player's hands, along with just judging if the ball in general was going to skip due to the water. Rockland had a bulk of the solid chances until about the last 15 to 20 minutes when Del Oro were able to get forward, and Eli Peters scored in the 79th minute. Prior to Del Oro's win in that game, the Golden Eagles lost 2 games in stoppage time. They lost one against Oak Ridge, and I want to say like the 84th minute, and 4 minutes into stoppage stoppage time at the end. And then they both goals that they lost in the 2-1 game to Whitney were in the 40th minute and in the 80th minute. So they were happy to get back in the win column and get a late goal to kind of, answer back. They do still need to clean up turnovers in the middle of the field. They missed clearing a lot of balls, which led to chances by Rockland. And then Rockland just needs to get more clinical and be able to find ways to prevent getting counterattacked and get the ball upfield more.
All right, I like it. In Wednesday's game, I'm glad you glossed over it, but we don't need to talk about, people that may or may not have gotten yellow cards and who they may or may not be related to on the show. That's just hearsay. We don't need to address it.
There may have been an accidental kick of the goalie in the game. We'll just say that, yeah.
But Matt, over to you. I know you were at some big games and some SFL games as well. So SFL heavy beginning of the show. Where were you at on? I believe your game started on Wednesday. Where were you at?
Yeah, but I actually I had forgotten I went to a game Monday.
All right, perfect.
When Aaron said he was at a game Monday, I'm like, wait a second, I thought I went somewhere too. But yeah, I went to the Rockland Folsom soccer game, girls soccer game, and I'm not prepared for this because I'd forgotten I went. So I'm trying to throw some stuff here together really quick here. But anyway, Rockland won the game 3-0. And I'm going to, this pronunciation, I don't know. Nalani Damacion, that's my guess. She scored the first goal for Rockland, and then Caitlin Winter scored the other two. So that's who scored. Rockland looked pretty good that game. So that's all I got for there. Yeah, Wednesday I was at the Folsom High for a dual wrestling match with Del Oro. These two teams have won the league championship since Folsom joined the SFL in 14-15. One of these two teams. So the result of this duel normally is the winner of the league. And Folsom won it last year, and this year Del Oro got the 34-30 win. We'll see if that results into a league title, but in all likelihood it will. What Coach Mike Collier from Folsom told me, which I didn't really know, he said the winner of the SFL is decided by the dual meets and has nothing to do with the league meet at the end of the year. So that helps Del Oro even more in that sense. But anyway, it came down to, Folsom was leading the 34-28 with 1 match, or 30-28 with 1 match to go. And it came down to the last match and 138 pounds, and Del Oro's Eli Hansa pinned Timmy Brandt from Folsom. So that's 6 more points for Del Oro, and that's 34-30 win. So nice win for Del Oro, especially after they lost last year. And so look for Del Oro. They got the leg up to win the league there. Thursday, I was at Vista Del Lago Soccer against Christian Brothers, and these two teams, both from the Capital Athletic League, rivals. They played for the D3 section title last year, which Vista won. And on this night, Christian Brothers won the game 1-0 with a goal in the first half off a free kick. Vista, they finally turned it on late in the game. In the last 18 minutes, Vista, dominated the game, because I know it's only 18 minutes. You got to play a full, 80 minutes, but they dominated the last 18 minutes. And really, they had chances to tie and even take the lead if they would have capitalized on them. So, they finished strong, but just a little too late for them. So the Falcons have a leg up on that, on the league, the race to the league title. And, when those two meet again on the road I guess they play at Sac State or Sac City College. So we'll see how that goes. So am I stopping there, or do I go to Friday? I forget.
Yeah, we'll stop at Wednesday and then we'll do our second halves of the week. So my week started game-wise on Tuesday. I guess we'll take a break from the SFL for a little bit to the FBL and boys hoops, where Placer and Ponderosa played. Pondo came into this one having won the league the last 3 years in a row, and I think for the first time in those 3 years, they're not. I guess I wouldn't say they're not the favorites going in, but they're not. It's not a battle for second place going in. I think Placer and Lincoln are on their heels, and Placer hosted Pondo in this one, and they had them on the ropes all game. They led by as much as 10 in the fourth quarter. I think Ponderosa only led for about a total of 3 minutes in the game. But Placer made some uncharacteristic turnovers down the stretch. They had a season-high 19 turnovers in this game. Ponderosa in the fourth quarter, Placer's up 10, and Ponderosa could not buy a three-pointer. They were missing everything. They were missing open shots, and they looked defeated. There was a timeout on the floor, and Ponderosa looked defeated coming off. Hillman pumped up 10 late. And I don't know what happened, if they maybe took the foot off the gas a little too early, or, they just they overthought it a little bit, but all of a sudden Ponderosa goes on a run and it's 61-60. And then, they go on a run, they cut deficit to 1 with 5:08 left, and then Pondo pulls ahead 61-60 with just over 30 seconds left. It felt like they just came out of nowhere in it. Placer goes down, or Ponderosa hits their free throws, makes it a 3-point game. Placer hits a layup. Pondo goes down, hits 2 more free throws. And Placer actually, with under 10 seconds to play, had a wide open look from Garrett Dutro in the corner. And the outlet pass, I was on the other end of the floor when it came. So I don't know if maybe a Pondo player I guess Pondo player didn't get a finger on it because it was Ponderosa basketball. But, somewhere along the way, there was miscommunication and the pass just sails out of bounds. It would have been a wide open look from 3. It would have been the player you want taking that shot. Some tough luck for Placer. Ponderosa ends up winning 66-62. It's a tough one to drop if you're the Hillman because you had a 10-point lead against a defending league champion at home. And this is a year that a lot of people think you guys can knock them off. And now you essentially gave them a game on your home floor. Now you have to go into Ponderosa later this year and beat them if you want a shot at the league title. And that's not an easy task. The Bruins were good. It wasn't all bad for Placer. Ben Manley had 27 points. And they did, come back later in the week with a big win. Aaron, I know you were at that one, so I'll let you get to it. But yeah, Ponderosa kind of, they made a statement that, hey, until proven otherwise, we're still the top dogs. And, that's a gritty win. And I talked to Placer's coach, Mark Lee, after the game. He was not thrilled. He's like, there's no moral victories in this one of taking those guys to the wire because we were up 10. He said we had 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter and they came down and hit 3s on all of them. That's 12 points right there. You can't let that happen. And, the story of the game, but at the same time, you got to wash it off. And in a weird way, I was telling some people that I think, Placer was 14-2, but their 2 losses were to Dublin, who was a better team than them, and Del Oro, who, they're pretty evenly matched with. So a 1-1 split is good. And, when they beat Dio, they controlled the game the whole time. And when they lost to Dio controlled the game the whole time. I think in a weird way, they almost needed to lose a game like this, that they kind of did it to themselves, because I think it's one of those games where you come out better on the other end of it because you learn from your mistakes. And this is a team that has proven that they can learn from them. So, if there is a silver lining or a moral victory, I think that they will be a better team because of this, but that one's got to sting to let that game get away from them. And then Wednesday night, before I throw it back to you, Aaron, I was at a PVL showdown between Colfax and Marysville in girls hoops. Top 2 teams, not only in the PVL, but I believe it was the top 2 ranked teams in Division 4 in the section going into this. And it was, it was a close game in the rankings, and that was about it. Colfax ended up winning 55-30. Probably could have been worse, but the backups were playing most of the fourth quarter. Colfax really came out poised. They were confident. They didn't hit their shots in the first couple minutes, but they were forcing a lot of turnovers, and they really just shut down. Marysville, they had 14 steals in the game. Gabby Bittner had 5 of them. Colfax really shut down Marysville. The Lady Indians got in foul trouble early. They had 9 team fouls in the first 6 minutes of the game, which allowed Colfax to jump out to a 17-4 lead. And they really just never looked back in that. So Colfax, we keep saying how well they're playing, and, they keep proving it. Tonight's another prove it game. It's going to be where I'm at tonight. They actually host rival Bear River, who's the defending D5 section champ. These 2 finished 1 and 2 in the league last year. That's a very real chance that they can finish 1 and 2 in the league this year. I think Bear River and Marysville are really battling it out for second. So, again, I guess another Sports Jam episode where we're praising Colfax girls basketball for looking pretty dominant so far this season. But Aaron, I'm going to throw it back over to you. Talk about where you were at for the back half of your week.
Yeah, so on Thursday, I was back at the announcer's desk and covering, the Lincoln Placer game, the boys basketball game. And, this was pretty much kind of they were neck and neck for a while. Placer did lead wire to wire, but Lincoln kept it close throughout most of the game. And then Placer just pulled ahead about the last 5 minutes to win 56-46. Placer had a 10-point lead again in the fourth quarter, and Lincoln actually cut it down to 3. But then Ben Manley hit a 3 from the wing, and basically from there it was all Placer going forward. Lincoln couldn't buy a 3-pointer down the stretch. Rebounds killed them. And the thing is, Benny Jomo and Sammy Tequesta for Lincoln both scored 18 points. They both played really good games. Benny had a couple of 3-point plays in the fourth quarter that cut the lead down. But the problem is they didn't really get anybody else involved. They had only 4 other scores that combined for 10 points. And I think if the Zebras are going to be a team that's going to have success, they need to find a way to get other players involved other than just Benny and Sammy. And I know that they've had games where they've done that, but in league play, you got to find other guys to go to. Credit to Placer, though. Placer played a great game. Manley finished the game with 17 points and 8 rebounds. Dutro had 12 points and 7 rebounds. Actually, 8 rebounds, I'm looking now. One thing about Dutro is, he's a great shooter. I think one thing that's one of his biggest benefits is just his height. As a 6'5", essentially forward or guard, he's able to create a lot of shots just because of his height. Lincoln doesn't have that. And that's another thing with Lincoln with the rebounding is they need to find ways to be able to box guys out and still grab boards, even though they're a smaller team. Sam Herlihy for Placer had 9 points and 9 rebounds, so solid game for him as well. I do think that the Zebras are going to be fine still. I mean, they play Oakmont on Tuesday. I expect them to win that game. And then, as I'll get into in a bit, they play Ponderosa on Thursday. That's going to be a big one for them. But yeah, Placer still looks good, and I'm still with you. I think that Ponderosa probably does have a leg up right now, but I mean, Placer and Lincoln are both right there, and easily could grab a win from Pondo. But it's going to be a very exciting league going forward. Definitely improvements, I think, for both teams.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a big one. I think it's still kind of a prove it game for Lincoln too. I know they haven't lost to Placer at home for a while, but I think Placer's kind of had their number of the league standings for the last couple of years. So Placer drops a prove it game early, Lincoln drops a prove it game early. You got to think the reverse game of both of those, especially losing them at home. I think you're going to see a few teams kind of come out a little pissed off and ready to take it to them and looking to take one back, because I think that league is really just going to be a dogfight this year. And Matt, over to you. Wrapping up your week, where were you at to end Thursday and Friday?
Yeah, I already hit Thursday. Friday, I was back at Vista Lago. I actually put for girls basketball against Christian Brothers again. Again, top 2 girls teams in the Capital Athletic League, arch rivals, and I think Vista won this game in one of the lowest scoring games we're going to see between 2 good teams, 34-29. I mean, there's bad basketball, bad teams that have low scores like this, but these are 2 good teams. Really, as you can tell, neither team shot the ball well. I don't have the stats for turnovers, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams had 20 turnovers. It wasn't necessarily pretty basketball, but like I said in my article, one of the teams had to win, and it was Vista. They started off the game with a 9-0 run, which I felt going in they needed to get to a good start. Christian Brothers was undefeated, and I just felt that Vista needed to get off to a good start, which they did. But they scored 9 points in the first 3.5 minutes, and the rest of the quarter they only added 1 point. So it's like, yeah, it's a good start, but then there's nothing after it. Anyway, but they led. I think I don't have it in front of me, but they were ahead after the first quarter. Key to the game was in the third quarter. Christian Brothers hit a 3 to tie the game with like a minute and a half to go in the third quarter, and then that's the only lead they had in the game, I believe. At that point, Christian Brothers was as excited as they were the whole game. The whole bench jumped up. They're back in it. This is our game now. Vista has 3 straight steals for 3 straight layups to end the quarter, and then they're up by 6. So that was critical, and it just kind of shocked Christian Brothers. Let me get into some specifics here since I don't do that a lot. Ellis Granaz made a steal and a layup, and then Alexa Moore had a steal and a layup for the Eagles, and then Ursula Chen had a steal and then got the ball to Charlize Kai, who finished it off for the 6-0 run. And then midway through the fourth quarter, it's a 5-point game, still a battle. And then Rosie Conrad, Vista senior, hit a 3-pointer and then steal and a layup for 5 points of her own to make a 5-point lead, a 10-point lead, and that finished off the Falcons. So, and Alexa Moore led the Eagles with 9 points. And Vista coach Marty Benjamin said he thinks that's the 6th straight win they've had over the Falcons. So they've kind of grabbed control of that rivalry, but we'll see what happens down to Christian Brothers at the end of the season. So that'll be a good rematch. And then Saturday, I left the the Charger Jacksonville game to go watch Folsom play Jesuit, so I didn't see the end of that game, but I did record it to watch Folsom Jesuit in the showcase, at Shelton High for MLK. And to be honest, it wasn't much of a showcase because Folsom jumped out to a 9-0 lead. And then by the end of the first quarter, they led 24-4 and basically dominated Jesuit from the start. Jesuit did not play. Peja Stoyanovich, his son, former king, he did not play. But so that I'm sure had a lot to do with it. But I mean, Folsom just crushed them. There's no way, no sugarcoating it. Micah Johnson, outstanding at point guard for Folsom. His defense was great, and C.J. Willenberg led all scorers with 26 points, and he was the offensive star of the game. So that's how my week ended.
I know Kevin Hopp Jr. from Jesuit has been really having to take over a load of the scoring because I think Stojakovic has actually been hurt for a while. I want to say something with his knee. From what I've heard, I think he's going to be back relatively soon, but that's definitely obviously a big problem when your star player's out. But yeah, Kevin Hopp from Oakmont last year has been taking over the scoring. But yeah, when you said that shocked me because I was like, even without Stojakovic, I thought they'd make it a game. But man, that says a lot about Folsom right now.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about Kevin Hopp. I know he scored 30-some points last week in a game, and he only scored 4 against Folsom. So,
wow.
Micah Johnson was playing against him. So that's why Mike Wall said, Micah was the defensive player of the game because he totally shut him down.
Yeah, that tells me a lot about Folsom. Wow.
When you said Folsom went out on a 9-0 run, and then you were saying the end of the first quarter score, I was expecting you to all of a sudden say and then Jesuit was up 20-11 at the end of the first and never look back. So that's an eye-opening one. I think you had 2 Folsom schools that are going to make a little bit of a shakeup in some of the rankings in the area because Christian Brothers and Jesuit are 2 of the big names to be taken down. And I mean, is Folsom, are both schools now involved in the Holy War and the Holy Bowl? I mean, hey, you took down.
Well, I know Folsom. Folsom. One thing about Folsom and Coach Mike Wall, he wants to play the best teams out there, and so they usually early season tournament up in Nevada. I forget the name of it, but they usually play Jesuit. They usually run into them up there, and they were supposed to play them, and there's some scheduling snafu where they switched it around, so they didn't get to play Jesuit. So I don't know how this game came about, but I know they're because Mike wants to play the best, and so I know he was happy to get them on the schedule. And a week earlier they beat Capital Christian in a non-league game, so that's another good team. So they're 18-1 right now, and Mike Wall says I'll take it.
All right, I like it. Well, I wasn't at much of a match on Thursday for wrapping up my week. It was I was also at Placer in Lincoln, up at Placer, and it was on the pitch. It was boys soccer between who a lot of people have as kind of the top 2, I guess, broken record, but Placer, Lincoln, and Ponderosa kind of projected to be the top 3 teams in the league in boys soccer as well. And this one started. It was 0-0 for a while, or 0-0, I should say. And, Lincoln possessed for most of the first half, but just couldn't find the back of the net. Placer keeper Jesse Cardenas was making some good saves. He actually made an incredible save on a Lincoln free kick. And he was getting overwhelmed back there, but was keeping a pretty clean sheet. And then the 25th minute, Israel Laureano scored on what it looked like a header off the kick. It was a strange one. So I was watching through my camera because I was getting pictures, and it looked like it came off his head, but from what it looked like, how the ball bounced off his head versus the velocity it found the back of the net in, it didn't look like it was the same touch. So maybe he got, a second touch on it with a knee or a foot or something, but it was definitely off of him because he was the one celebrating and there was no one in between him or the net. So, it had to be him. And, that was the first goal. And then Robert Lloyd scored in stoppage time at the end of the first half to make it 2-0. I think that was probably the biggest goal of the night. I think if that goal doesn't happen, the Hillman had a few counter strikes where they were starting to, get down the field, get a couple shots off. And I think if Robert Lloyd's second goal doesn't happen right before the half, it's a whole different game. Actually, I'll take it back. I think the most important goal of the night actually came from Isaiah Eberhardt, and it was right at the beginning of the second half. Lincoln gets a free kick. It goes off the crossbar, and Eberhardt comes in and just drills the rebound in. 3-0 Lincoln. Lloyd scored his second of the night to make it 4-0, and then Zach Giles rounded it out for a 5-0 win for Lincoln. I talked to Lincoln coach George Bonilla, and he said that, the first couple of minutes, they really changed their attack after that. They become a lot more aggressive towards the goal. And I mean, it showed when you have no goals for the first 25 and then you have 5 goals in the rest of the match. And it's a big win there for Lincoln, really a statement win. I think a lot of people on both sides, even talking to Lincoln's coach, I think a lot of people felt that match was going to be a little closer. I think most people felt Lincoln was the better team in it, but I don't think anyone had 5-0 written in the cards there. I asked Placer coach Philip Constantini about it. Placer lost 12 or I think 15 seniors actually from last year's team. And that was a very good team that went to the section semifinals before losing to Vista. Constantini was an assistant coach on that. He's now the head coach. And he said, we're a team that, yeah, we lost a lot, but he goes, we also have, 12 seniors on this year's team. And said that we're still trying to find our identity. And, when we get pressured like that, it exposes some things we need to work on. But the good news is your second league match of the year. So, you'd rather get exposed on these things now than get exposed on these things in, mid to late February. But he said, they're a resilient team, they're a cerebral team, and he thinks that the room for growth is now. So, I think they've definitely got some work to do, but I mean, I think it's a team that can bounce back. And for Lincoln, I mean, talk about a dominant start, 10-0 right now. I know they host Oakmont on Tuesday. Zebras and Hillman are going to meet again on January 31st in Lincoln. But, Lincoln's coach kind of told me, I asked him about the 10-0 start, and he just said, we got to keep working and get as many wins as we can get. So, that kind of is a testament to how good that Lincoln team is, that, yeah, you're 10-0 and, your coach's response is like, okay, let's get back to work. I mean, you just beat who a lot, I think most people familiar with that league in soccer think is going to be the number 2 team in that league. You just beat them 5-0 on their home turf. And your response is, let's get back to work. I mean, that's like a Nick Saban mentality right there. After winning your national title, you're just like, yeah, we got to get on the recruiting trail. We're a month behind now.
Well, I know Bonilla's been coach at Lincoln for a while. He's actually been coach there ever since I was in high school. And, I think one of the big things with him having that mindset this year is, trying, just stay focused for, take it game by game, because of knowing what happened last season when, they were a really good team. I think they were a 5 seed, and then they lost first round to Christian Brothers. And I know that, they don't want that to happen again. So they're going to take it game by game. But yeah, I'm with you. That 5-0 win definitely opened my eyes and really made me realize, oh, wow, this team is like not just good, they're really good. And, we could be talking about potentially top seed in the division going into the section playoffs and a section title contender for sure. I'm very interesting to see, very interested to see what the Zebras can do.
Oh, especially because it's worth noting, Placer's 5-2, and they've beaten some decent teams, and they've got some talent on that roster. So it's not like Lincoln, went out there and beat a bottom feeder in that league 5-0. They beat a team that is likely going to be getting a home playoff game. And, to go on the road and beat a team like that, I definitely think the wheels kind of fell off for Placer a little bit. But, I mean, that game was pretty much the way Lincoln possessed and controlled that game. I mean, it was impressive. I've seen very few teams be able to take control of a match like that. I mean, it looks like, a 16-year-old playing his 5-year-old brother in FIFA and deciding he's not going to let him win. I mean, it was dominant, to say the least. And, that kind of brings us over, I guess, some big performances we saw in the week. To me, the biggest one that stands, well, Kaya Diedrichs has been impressive again for Colfax, but I can't keep picking her as my athlete of the week. I know she had 18 against Center on Friday night. I believe she had 13 against Marysville. But honestly, the most impressive performance of the week for me, I'm going to have to say goes to Gabby Bittner. She's had I believe 6 steals against Marysville, or 5 steals against Marysville, 8 steals against Center. She also had 13 points against Center. She's been leading the team in rebounds, assists. I mean, she's really doing it all. And, in that Center game against Colfax, it was at Center, and the Cougars actually kind of scared the Falcons a little bit. It was 19-12 after the first quarter. Colfax led. Then Colfax outscored them in the second quarter, 20-3. So, the way that team can take control of the game, she's really the one that's running that offense as a point guard. So Gabby Bittner, I'm going to give the tip of the cap to you as the best performance I saw this week. Aaron, what were some of the best performances you saw?
Yeah, so my Lincoln area athlete of the week is going to be Maya Hodge, the junior on the girls basketball team. She had a triple-double in a 81-36 win over Nevada Union last Wednesday. She does rack up a lot of assists, and she's a good rebounder, but she hasn't had a triple double yet this year. And as far as I know, I don't think she had one last year either. 21 points, 13 rebounds, 14 assists, and 6 steals in the win against Nevada Union. Nevada Union's, not necessarily like a Ponderosa, one of the better teams in the league, but still, when you're putting up stats like that, it's insanely impressive. So huge congrats to her there. I know the Zebras play again this week, and they're undefeated in the league so far. Speaking of the Zebras, they beat Placer on Friday night, and Katie Leith for Lincoln broke the Lincoln High School girls basketball all-time scoring record. She currently stands at 1,358 points right now, and we still got a lot of league games to play, so that number is going to shoot up for sure. One other person for Lincoln, Jesus Juarez, Lincoln wrestler, won gold at the Mark Fuller tournament in his weight class this last weekend, so congratulations to him. Megan Worrell of 12 Bridges junior soccer player scored a hat trick in a 9-0 win over Wheatland. Getting to some South Placer stuff, my athlete of the week is going to be Yaqub Mir of Granite Bay. He scored 40 points in a 67-61 win over Oak Ridge last Wednesday in the win. He then scored 17 in a 76-63 win over Rockland, and he also recently passed 1,000 career points and is now Granite Bay's all-time leading scorer. So a couple of all-time leading scorers this week on the show. Sticking with Granite Bay, Taylor Wells and Mila Nemi, I think I'm pronouncing that right, took first in their respective weight classes at the Mark Fuller tournament over the weekend at Lincoln High. And then Roseville High girls basketball player Lolana Madrid, 29 points in an 82-36 win over River Valley on Wednesday. And I may be checking out their game tonight up in Yuba City potentially.
All right. I like it. Matt, over to you. Who are some of the best performances you saw?
Well, in the Vistas girls basketball winner, Christian Brothers, Alexa Moore, led offensively and defensively for the Eagles, and Ellis Gernaz played well. Rosie Conrad was in foul trouble, but when she was on the court, she played well. Charlize Kai had great defense all game long. Saturday, I already mentioned C.J. Willenberg was the offensive star for the Bulldogs, and Micah Johnson was the defensive star for Folsom girls basketball, who they also had a showcase game down in Stockton. Again, I don't have that in front of me, but because I wasn't there. But I know Cameron Mafua has been their best player all season, and she's just dominating right now. She played well in that game, and Folsom won that game. I kind of handle my athlete of the week a little different than stats, but this week it just happened to be Oak Ridge girls basketball. You want to give them a shot to have an athlete of the week, and Coach White put up Lauren Marsh, senior. The Trojans are 3-0, 13 in the league, 13-7 overall. Much different team than they had last year when they won the D1 section title. But one thing that remains the same is the play of Lauren Marsh. She's not. You're not going to find her in the box score. You're not going to find her the leading scores. If I had to guess, I'd say she might average 4 points and 4 rebounds. But she's a consummate team player. Oak Ridge would not be as good as they are without her. She does all the little things, all the things that players don't like to do, takes charges, rebounds, defends guards, defends posts, does anything Coach White asks her to do. And just has a great attitude, never gets tired, just goes out and does what she's asked to do and told to do. And her play just makes everyone else on Oak Ridge's team job easier. So, and that's why she is my athlete of the week.
All right. I like it. Looks like we've got another busy week this week. I know for me, I'll be at Colfax Bear River Girls Hoops tonight for a big battle there in the PVL. Tomorrow night, I'll be at a wrestling meet between 12 Bridges, Colfax, and Bear River. And then Wednesday, it looks like I'll be at I'll actually be, another Colfax heavy. I'll be at their match their boys basketball game against Sutter. So, busy week coming up there. On the front. Aaron, over to you. What were some of the games you're going to be checking out this week?
Yeah, so I'm still 50-50. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it or not, but if I'm able to, I'm going to go up to Yuba City tonight and watch Roseville's girls play Yuba City. Roseville's girls have won 7 of their last 8 games, including 4 in a row. Again, Madrid's been playing really well for them. I haven't gotten to see them yet, so I'm going to try to make it out to that. Regardless if I do or not, they're going to get coverage of my roundup this week that I'm doing. Tomorrow, I will be at Whitney as the 10-6 Lady Wildcats face off against Oak Ridge Oakridge in essentially what could be a battle for second in the SFL. The Wildcats are ranked 13th in the section, led by Harper Peterson and Kendall Dykstra, while the Trojans are 11th in the section right now on the Max Preps rankings at 13-7, and they have defeated their first 3 league opponents by a combined 68 points. I think this should be a good battle. I'm going to predict Trojans 60-52. I think it'll be a good game, but I'm going to go with Oakridge in that one. And then Wednesday, I'm not covering anything because I'm going to a Sharks game, so that'll be fun. I haven't gotten a chance to see a hockey game yet this year, so I'm going to go to that. And then Thursday, I'll be back at the announcer's desk once again as the Zebras take on Ponderosa in basketball. We talk about these teams a lot being the top 3 teams in the league. Bruins beat Placer and Oakmont, while the Zebras lost to Placer and beat Nevada Union. Ponderosa currently has 6 players averaging in double figures right now. They're led by Max Manfredi, who is a transfer from Oakridge. I do expect the Zebras to get other players involved, but the issue is, can they rebound it well enough? I'm going to go with Ponderosa winning this one by about the same as Placer. I'm going to say about 8 to 10 point victory for Ponderosa. I think it'll be a good game, but I just don't know if the Zebras are going to have the ability to rebound the ball and prevent those second chance points. On Friday, I'll be back on the pitch as the Del Oro girls soccer team faces Whitney. The Lady Eagles are 3-3-3 and lost to Whitney 1-0 at home back on January 9th, while Whitney are currently second in the SFL at 3-1, with their only loss coming against Oakridge last Wednesday. They are led by Lauren Hunter and Kylie Whipple. I'm going to go with Whitney in this one, 2-1 to close out the week.
Matt, where are you going to be at this week?
Hey, tonight, Vista Lago boys at home against El Camino. Check them out. Wednesday night at Folsom High for a soccer game between Oakridge boys and Folsom boys. Thursday, I'm probably going to head down to Consumers Oaks to watch Vista girls play Consumers Oaks in a non-league game, girls basketball. Friday, Oakridge hosts Folsom in a SFL doubleheader basketball. Check that out. And then Saturday, varsity boys crosstown cup, Vista against Folsom at Folsom High. That's Saturday night. And by the way, I just want to add, Aaron, I think if you're predicting Oakridge to beat Whitney 60-52, I'm going to say if Oakridge wins that game, it's going to be about 10 points lower. So I'm going to say 50-42.
All right. I'm going to do you one better, Matt. I'm going to say 40-32.
Okay. That might even be better yet. 60 points. 60 points. 60
I will
points.
say this about Whitney because when they played Colfax, and I haven't seen Oakridge play yet. I don't know how comparable Colfax is to Oakridge. I know in the rankings they're pretty close. Whitney did get shut down defensively for the most part, at least in the first half of the game I saw when they played Colfax. So they definitely have a tendency to sometimes, not be as solid on the offensive front when they play better defensive teams like that. So I definitely could see that being the case. I just happen to think that they're going to have a good shooting night, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up as much defensively. But you're right; it could go either way, 100%.
Well, I agree with what you just said there, 100%. But I also say it because 60 points is a lot for Oakridge against a good team. So I think they're better. Their chances are better winning a lower scoring game than a higher scoring game. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it does seem like, looking at Oakridge's scores, they are a very defensive heavy team, and that's their bread and butter. So, but hey, it's going to be another good week of sports over here. Looking forward to the next episode. We thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gold Country Mia Sports Jam. I've been Jordan.
I've been Aaron. Happy MLK Day.
And I'm Matt.
All right. We thank you guys and have a good night. We will see you next week.